It always comes to this. Morning guys, back again to another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the session on my left arm with Rick. We did the inner chunk of the bicep, not quite the inner bicep, but more kind of the middle bicep here. And that all healed up really well. We also did this part here. And my assumption is that we'll probably end up coming back down through here again in either this coming week or the following week. We need to do a lot of work on the hands, so I think that'd probably be where the time we best spent this week, especially we're just about to go on Christmas break here at the shop for about a week and a half. So if you're gonna be doing hand tattoos, particularly if you work with your hands, and I don't anymore, really, those days are behind me. I think it's best to heal hand tattoos when you have a couple days off. It just goes better for all reasons. It's obviously you're not going to be banging your hand around. There won't be any like pain potentially from that. If you got a lot of color saturation or even some fairly intricate black and gray, your hands can swell quite a bit, and it takes a little while for everything to kind of close up when your hands are swollen, and the wound is more exposed to all kinds of contamination on work sites or in kitchens or whatever the fuck. So I think it's just better off for everyone if you do your hand tattoos before a lengthy break. I used to, before my Christmas break at my old job, I used to plan to do hand tattoo reworks or touch-ups or additional passes. Now that wasn't always how it went, but those were the best results. It was always like, if I had to tattoo my hand with only a day or two off work, I was always banking on some degree of failure with it. And so the best passes I had were when I was able to rest my hands for a while. Now, with all of that said, some damage done to your hands is kind of like long-term. When you work with your hands will get dry or crusty. No matter how much you lotion, like, your hands are just gonna be drier on a deeper level. Even if they look like they aren't dry, there's some amount of wear and tear that you can't get rid of in life, and your hands will just get more rugged if you're using them more often. Whereas my wife is actually older than I am. Her hands are baby soft. She's never really done any manual labor, or she's never worked outside, or she's never been a cook or anything like this, and so her hands are quite a bit softer than mine and therefore take ink a little bit easier. Not that she doesn't have hand tattoos, but theoretically if she were to want to get one, it would be easier to tattoo her hands, or at least the ink would show more vibrantly with less effort than it would mine or a similar 20-year kitchen or manual labor guy. With all of that said, I had the lines redone on my spider web here. Good segue. Some of the lines had kind of thinned out in places, and that was not due to residual wear and tear, or even for that matter, the state of my skin. The state of my skin, notwithstanding, on this hand is the worst anywhere on my body, but the reason in particular for that was that we had done all of the red on my hand again, and we did some bright red spots, which you can still kind of see, and then we lined over top of that with black, and even then Terry and I both kind of were like, wow, we're pushing our luck with this. We'll see how these lines stay. So it was always our intention to come back and do another pass on those. It was just kind of finding that the right day to do it. Similar to how we did recently, we did the third pass on this eye here, the third pass on the one on my neck, which you'll get to see in a minute, and we did the first pass on my forehead. We did 3 little guys this last, I guess it was yesterday. Sorry, it's been a really busy week. Christmas for me is kind of a fucking shit show. It's just busy, 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 busy. Every day is like, the day starts at 4 and ends around 9 or 10. And then it begins again the next day. There's just so many events. Anyhow, so yeah, we did all 3 of those last time. This time we did the second pass here. And you can see it's quite a bit redder this time. And it will stay redder. It will still be fairly dark. It probably won't be as bright as this time. So in the new year, at some point, we'll do a 3rd pass on that. As I always say, 2 to 3 passes of color, depending on how bright you want it to be. Not all color needs to be as bright as that, right? Not all color needs to be as bright as the yellow or green in the eyes on this sleeve. Like, it's just about what you want. Some things you want to keep darker. For example, the purple and the red and the roses on the rose arm here were only done twice, whereas the light blue highlights and the turquoise green on the leaves, we did those 3 times. Similarly, the thorns, they were only done twice. So it all depends on what you want. I don't really recommend just doing 1 pass unless you just want to tint the black. I always recommend 2 minimum, and that's also for blackout. I've gone over that extensively. I think 2nd passes are a must. But if you want brighter colors than 3, and sometimes, like, if you want really, really bright, you can go a 4th time. I don't know how much difference there is if the color is being saturated more or less correctly. I don't think that there's a whole ton of benefit between 3 and 4 passes in my experience. And I'm sure there is, but it will be diminishing returns after 3 passes, it seems. And I've had a few spots that have been saturated, obviously, multiple passes over 3 on this arm. And some of them are done now getting much better. Like the darker tones are kind of where they're going to be. But some of the brighter tones, especially the colors that were struggling a little bit, like light blues and stuff, those have seen some benefit from going over more than 3 times. But for the most part, most colors seem to be saturated after 3 over black, so there's not much need. And once they are there, they don't really change much, as evidenced by everything you're looking at here. When was the last time we worked on my neck? When was the last time we worked on these here? It's been 3 years just about since we touched these. And so it is what it is. After you get it to that level, you're more or less just leaving it there, or unless you want to alter it. Like, people will say, oh, well, yeah, he says that, but he's been working on his fucking torso now for how long? Yeah, but I've changed it the whole time. It hasn't been about sustaining the same thing. If you can't see that, then you're fucking blind. I've reworked my torso. People have this idea of, oh, Remy's working on his 3rd bodysuit. Well, fuck, I guess that depends on how you count. Because realistically, like, it's anywhere between 5 to 10 if you count all the variations, and that's being modest. Like, parts of my torso have looked, or all of my torso has looked so many goddamn different ways over the years. And so we had the original version, and then I reworked that, and then it was partly blacked out and then fully blacked out, other than the eye and the chest. And then then I had the skull still on my chest, and we got rid of those, and built more teeth over those, and then blacked out more, and the chest is gone. And then we did the black on black tentacles, and then the white on black tentacles, and the now color tentacles. And the background for all of that was black on black, then white on black, then fucking red and white on black, and then it was fucking dark purple and dark blue and dark red, and then it was light blue, and like just so many different variations, right? So this has not been a game of maintaining because, oh my God, it's fading so fast. No, it's been changing it because I have wanted to do more with it. So, and anyone that's been paying any kind of attention will understand that. But most of the feedback I get from, we'll call them trolls to be nice, is from people who pay 0 attention to anything and just want to talk shit. And there is a startling amount of that these days. And by the way, I've had some people push back on me giving it back to these guys. I did an episode of Remy Reacts recently where I called out a bunch of these troglodytes. And listen, free speech isn't you get to talk about whatever the fuck you want and no one will ever call you on it. That's not actually what free speech is. And if you want to cite free speech, because some of these harebrained morons do, free speech goes, you can say what you want, but then so can I. You do not get impunity and you don't have a fucking safe space. My pages are not the best place for obvious nonsense. I will call you out. I'm a pretty combative person at times. If I want to, I'll make content out of you, and if I do, you probably deserved it. You do not get a safe space on my page. There's no impunity here. So you do so at your own peril, and I'm not canceling you either. I'm not blocking or any of that. I think the best defense against bad speech is good speech. That's how free speech actually works. But no, free speech isn't you just get to treat the world like your fucking toilet because you're having a bad day. That's not how free speech actually works. And if I am the one to break it to you, then sorry, you needed to hear it. No one online is your fucking punching bag. And if you get punched back, you don't get the right to fucking complain about it. You deserved it. Wear it. That's all there is to that. And there's so many people that just want to dump on whatever comes across their screen these days. I feel like eventually, if we ever get Neuralink, and I've said this before on the channel, there will probably be some kind of physical pain imposed on people who say things that would, for example, break terms. For example, there are some things that if you say them, they'll get you flagged right now. I think that in the future, what's likely is that rather than flagging you, you'll get like an instant pain in your brain or something. And if you think that that will never happen, take a look at all the things that we thought would never happen already, and most of those are happening. So I don't think it's that far of a stretch that if we ever get such software actually implanted in our brains, which I'm not a huge advocate for either, I just understand humans will progress and we will do this, whether it's for our betterment or the worst of us. And certain things will happen like that, I'm positive, because people can't control themselves when they have anonymity. They act like fucking wild animals. It's the craziest thing. You want to turn a bunch of people into assholes, give them anonymity and no personal accountability, and watch them go. You get people talking shit from fake profiles with kids as their profile pictures, wishing death on people and shit like this, calling other people's kids ugly and shit. Like it's insane, the stuff that goes on social media. And because we're living more and more online every day, people will say don't focus on it, but I worry for people my son's age and younger who are growing up with this shit from an early age, and like it's worth more to them than actual physical discourse because they spend more time with it, right? So it's not as easy as some boomer who's been reading newspapers forever going, oh, none of that stuff is real. Oh no, motherfucker, that is reality now, whether you like it or not. And when you used to say stuff like that, someone might have punched your fucking teeth down your throat or fucking knocked you out. There would have been some kind of consequence for it, and now there isn't, theoretically. Well, this isn't your place to get away with murder. None of my social media is. So, and if you're standing up for these fucking lemmings, you're as bad as they are and you deserve to be offended. I have no problem saying that. Now, because I didn't show it off last time, if you got through that fucking rant, and maybe you unfollowed me, maybe you're angry, maybe you're writing some stupid comment right now, maybe you'll end up in my next Remy Reacts to Haters comments. That is on the table here too. That's not just an Instagram thing or TikTok. Anyway, I'll show off how my back healed up after the last pass. So primarily the blue is what I wanted to help. And that was achieved. So we do have one more small session to go on my lower back area, the fur and the hair, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I would say that's 2 to 3 hours. And I'm going to be doing a video here probably next week about future plans and kind of what we did this year, the whole wrap up of it, go through it on a granular level. And because there's been a lot, I put another around 400 to 500 hours in this year, believe it or not. But that's what happens when you do, you know, somewhere around 10 hours a week, every week. What is that? 40 hours a month? So yeah, somewhere between 35 and 40 hours a month, 12 months of the year, you end up with another 400 to 500 hours of tattoos. I'm not going to do the math right now, but that's why the number goes up so often. By next year, if I was able to keep this pace, and I probably will be able to keep this pace, I will be reaching a staggering 3,000 plus hours of tattoo work. And if there was any doubt about it, the doubt is got to be getting less and less about who's got the most tattoo work in the world. And I think it's silly to even fucking try and argue against it anymore, especially since I've been doing this shit for fun for so long. Where Lucky Diamond Rich's, his last few spaces he covered, he was literally just limping to the finish line, just trying to get it done. There's a great picture of him getting his soul blacked out, and it just looks like he's in absolute agony. And it's just one of those things where it's like, when you have people doing things specifically for a record versus they're reaching these milestones simply because they enjoy being tattooed, I think it's a completely different thing. And naturally, I have something close to 3 times the man's hours of tattoo work at this point. And so it becomes increasingly absurd as time goes on. One more thing I keep forgetting to mention. I went off on that fucking toxic rant about social media. I demonstrated to Terry kind of how I think we should approach my palm area coming up this year. I've talked about this before, but I do plan on doing more. I just want to avoid these callus areas on my hand. We're going to be dotting in further off the side here, in and around all the fingers the same way, and obviously closing up this gap. The whole kind of area is going to get closed in on with dots. And dots are a better method than full blackout, I think. Especially me with my OCD, I will want to, whatever blemishes in a potential palm blackout, I would want to be buffing out. And I would end up doing something like 8 passes on my palm, similar to the evil blackout who I featured on Remy Reacts. A better method for me is not to attempt full saturation, rather with both of my palms attempt more of a kind of dotted in framed palm. And that does include, like I said, the fingers. So that's on the docket for next year, probably January, February. And funny enough, this will probably be going up in February, but you'll probably see it on the channel here in April or May. Anyway, I will talk to you guys again here after my next session with Rick. Have a great day.